What's up guys, Jonathan Carter here, and today we are going to be talking about The Exorcist Believer. This will be a spoiler-free review. The plot of this movie is very similar to the plot of the original Exorcist, except instead of following one family through a possession, this movie follows two families through a possession. Right off the bat, I think this is a great sequel to the original Exorcist. When you're following up a movie as sacred as original Exorcist, it's very hard to walk the line of respecting the original movie and also following it up in a proper way, justifying its own existence, and The Exorcist Believer stands out in that sense. It follows the original movie just enough, and it doesn't try to deviate and create its own thing and take the Exorcist series somewhere it doesn't really belong, but it also isn't a beat for beat story of the original movie. Basing this movie off of two families dealing with the horror of possession naturally allows the movie to open up a little more and add a few more characters. You get different dynamics with different families. That brings different religions into this movie, and that's such a strong point of this movie, is that it just doesn't focus on Catholicism or Christianity that it did in the first movie, but it opens the doors for other religions to come in, other different types of cultures, different people. The scares here are incredibly effective. Thankfully, the movie doesn't rely on jump scares. Just like the original, there are definitely gory scenes here, but it's not too much where it kind of becomes torture porn or something like that. It's definitely a hard R horror movie, but it's not too over the top in that sense, and I think that is another strong point for this film. I think where the movie slips a little is in the size of its cast. You do lose a little bit of the connection that the original movie had, where it was just focused on one family and was a very tight-knit story. This doesn't necessarily feel bloated in a sense, but sometimes it feels like the movie bit off a little more than it could chew. It can leave you feeling a little lost for a second, like you have to play catch up. But once you get past the first 10 minutes of the film, it streamlines everything and becomes a much cleaner story. Something that this movie does lack is the quieter, suspenseful moments that the first movie did so incredibly well. It doesn't have that unsettling feeling that the original movie planted. That's what The Exorcist Believer is really lacking. I think a few scenes like that would have bumped this movie up. All of that being said, this movie looks incredible. It has a very strong script. The two girls that do get possessed are standouts here. I believe this movie has a darker ending than the first one does. Where the movie goes at the end, I was not expecting. The last thing I wanted to talk about here is the return of Chris, the actress, the mother from the first movie. I think they handled her character very well. There's news that this movie is going to kick off a trilogy of Exorcist films. I personally am completely on board for that. I think the few missteps in this movie could potentially be fleshed out to make a strong trilogy. The original Exorcist had this one-on-one story with the demon Pazazu, and The Exorcist Believer doesn't necessarily have that clear of, okay, who exactly, what exactly is possessing these girls. I think that that's something that could be fleshed out in the sequels and would only make this first film stronger. All that being said, I'm gonna give The Exorcist Believer a 7.5 out of 10. This is a movie I thoroughly enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed my review. Be sure to check me out on my other social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd. Let me know your thoughts on The Exorcist Believer in the comments. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Did it make you mad? Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.